searching, solving mysteries in the night. Chasing shadows, finding answers, shining bright light. No one's left behind, in the darkness all alone. With a heart like a siren, she brings the lost ones home. Silent cries in the dark no longer have to be, for justice wheels keep turning, Granny on the beat. Broken voices find their power, call out hope again. When these crime busters run, no victims left to pay. Bravery in her veins, truth she won't disguise. With a fire in her eyes, she's got nothing to deny. Granny fights for justice, never backs down from the call. For the voiceless and the missing, she'll stand tall. In a world full of shadows, she fights the unseen, a guardian of the truth in this wicked dream. Every story told brings her back to life. Granny's on the case, cutting through the lies. She guards the broken hearted from the world that hides. With unwavering spirit, she wears no disguise. Searching for the lost pieces of a shattered life. Granny brings the dawn after a longest night. Whoa.
Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Hello, Brenda Joe. Good to see you. Everybody else that's sitting back there. So, the trial today has been interesting. Gonna pull up my thing here. And so I'll share my screen right away with you. So in the beginning, they continued with Zach on the stand. And the only question, and it was cross-examination, defense was done yesterday with Zach. The state asked one question: did he drag Christina by the ankle or by the arm? Zach said he couldn't remember, but he thought it was by the ankle. And then they took a break. And then they came back. The state gave a closing argument. The defense gave a closing argument. And then the state had a short rebuttal. And then it was time for jury deliberations. Okay. So the jury has come back with 3 different questions. Okay. The first question asked if malice had to be a part of Red Rum. The second question was about the difference between first and second degree harassment. And then the third question that they just did was about explain the difference between first-degree conspiracy to commit harassment and second-degree conspiracy to commit harassment, which, as far as we know, that is like the last question on the jury form that they had to fill out. Now, they've only been deliberating for a couple hours, as far as I can tell. Let me look here. Oh, an hour. Wait. They left the courtroom 2 hours ago, so they've been deliberating about 2 hours, guys. And they're on the last question. Hello, Ginger. Good to see you. So, 3 questions. The last one was the last one on the jury form. You know, I mean, they don't have to answer them all in order. I don't think they can do whatever they want, but just saying, that could be interesting. So, we might even have an answer before we leave here today, which would be very interesting. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on it. Ginger, if you can help me keep an eye to let me know if they've come back. I keep refreshing Pretty Lies and Alibis Twitter account because they're the ones that she's there. Gigi from Pretty Lies and Alibis is there in the courtroom, and she's kind of letting us all know what's going on. Hello, Cheryl. Good to see you. So it's been exciting. The defense. The defense started out, you know what? I'm just going to play it. The state's case, their argument was what you would normally think it would be, right? I'm going to pull over to what the defense said, and you guys can tell me what you think. So here we go.
I want to start with something that Mr. Wilkins said towards the beginning of his comments to you. He said, Zach Hughes solved John Mello's problems. Yesterday, Zach Hughes told you he solved Aida Mello's problem. That's what he told you yesterday. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to watch the state. You got to watch the evidence. Zach Hughes yesterday came in here and told you under oath that he killed Christina Parcell on October the 13th, 2021. He told you that. But contrary to what Mr. Wilkins just told you, killing somebody in and of itself is not a crime. Mr. Wilkins told you that.
Did you hear what he said? He said, killing somebody in and of itself is not a crime. Guys. And he just told us we have to watch what the state says? I mean, the last time I checked in the United States, killing is a crime. Killing someone is a crime. There's different levels of the crime, but killing is a crime. We have a verdict, Ginger? Oh, goodness. Okay, let me see here. Verdict is in. Oh my goodness. All right. We're going to head over to, oh, I can't. I almost went over there. Whoops. I'll watch and see what's going on. But yeah, we can't stream it at the same time. That's a big no-no. And I think we're running like 20 minutes behind, aren't we? Anyway, so let's go ahead. I'm going to just make this go back 5 seconds, and listen closely to what what Zach's defense attorney says here.
Is not a crime. Mr. Wilkins, in and of itself, killing somebody in and of itself is not a crime. Mr. Wilkins told you that he confessed to committing the crime. That is not the case. Yesterday, Zach Hughes told you that he killed Christina Parcell, but in doing that, he did not tell you or confess to any crime. And let me be clear, and let me tell you why I say that. Every crime, and the judge is going to tell you this in the instructions, every crime has two parts in general terms. The actus reus, which is the action, and the mens rea, which is what's in your mind, the intent that the state has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. So it's very important that you understand this from the get-go. He did not confess to a crime yesterday. He confessed to killing Christina Parcell, but that in and of itself does not make him guilty of murder. That's very important, okay? The first part of, or Mr. Wilkins talked about how this case is unique. It is unique. And one of the unique parts about this case is that first part that I talked about, the actus reus, the action that's involved, there's very little dispute, if any. Zach admitted that he killed Christina Parcell, right? Where the dispute is, where the heart of this case is the evidence as to what was in Zach's heart, what was in Zach's mind, that the state must prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt. It must be evidence that leaves you firmly convinced. It must be evidence that would cause you not to hesitate to act, right? That's what they have to do. So the heart of this whole case, Mr. Wilkinson can talk about the blood, he can talk about the scene, he can talk about all these things. But the heart of this case is the intent, is the mens rea. What have they proven about Zach's intent? All right, now.
Okay. So, in my opinion, this defense attorney, we can watch this one live, Court TV. All credit goes to Court TV, guys. And we're going to watch this one as it comes in. But my opinion on that defense attorney is he lost the jury within the first few minutes when he said that killing isn't a crime, because I beg to differ. The fact that this came back so quickly, they've only been deliberating about 2 hours, makes me wonder. Their first question had me a little scared. I want to make sure I have the volume on. Yeah.
Hold them for just a second. Before the jury gets in here and the verdict's read, I say this in every trial, that there are a lot of emotions. And I would just ask right now, if you cannot control your emotions, I'm going to give you an opportunity to leave. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to stay. But I just, for everybody involved, please control your emotions. Okay? If anybody needs to leave, they can. All right, bring the jury.
You can't even tell when he's talking, can you? He doesn't even move his lips. Guys, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this man, I really honestly believes could use some therapy. I think that he suffered something as a child with his sister that clearly traumatized him. I don't know who these people are. They're supporters of his, but I don't know who they are. Are those his siblings? I don't know. Well, I didn't plan on having a verdict tonight, but I'm glad we're live for this.
If you can, please hand it to the bailiff. Madam Clerk, please read these others.
Your Honor, these are case numbers 2024 GS 23-2194, 5425A, 5413, 5412. As to the charge of murder, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty.
Wow.
As to the charge of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. As to the charge of burglary first degree, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. As to the charge of harassment first degree, we, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. As to the charge of harassment second degree, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. As to the charge of conspiracy to commit harassment first degree, we, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. As to the charge of conspiracy to commit harassment second degree, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Signed by our foreperson. Ladies and gentlemen, if this is a verdict you reached in your deliberation room and this is still your verdict now, please raise your right hand. Thank you.
Anything? Stay.
No, please stay. Nothing as relates to the jury.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I've told you this before, and on behalf of the state of South Carolina and Greenville County, I want to thank you for all of your service for the last 2 weeks. I know this has demanded a lot from you. You all have been extremely attentive. I know that this has not been easy. I'm going to ask you now if you will go back to the jury room, and I will be back there in just a moment to talk to you, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, defense.
Your Honor, at this time, I would just make a request that sentencing be deferred to give defense counsel more of an opportunity to present mitigation.
State.
Your Honor, we would oppose that request. We would ask that you we proceed to sentencing as soon as possible.
I'm going to give 15 minutes. Fill out the sentencing sheets. Do you feel like you need a little bit more? But I'm going to sentence them within the next 30 minutes.
Thank you, Your Honor. The other thing I would, on behalf of Mr. Hughes, for reasons articulated specifically that
Somebody is being awful with the mic.
evidence on how each and every one of the elements of the offenses for which the jury convicted or for which the jury convicted Mr. Hughes, you for that reason.
Okay. And your motion is denied. You're protected on the record. The only other thing that I need to do is just, and I had discussed this with counsel, as far as the verdict form up at the top, it just needs to be amended to read 2022 GS 23002194, and then it will be 2024 5425A, 2024 5413, and 2024 5412. I just wanted to make sure that that was on the record. It was just more of a typographical, the 4 instead of the 2.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. You have no objection.
No objection to that.
And I'll just write on here. Thank you. All right, we'll be back in 30 minutes, 15 minutes.
15 minutes, we fine.
Okay, all right.
There you have it. Wow. So you saw it here. He was found guilty of red rum. I think that's his family right there. Wow. I feel bad for them. Must be his mother and father. 5 siblings. There was 4 from Russia and 1 his brother. I don't know. Anyway, guys, so they found him guilty of red rum. The thing that they found him not guilty of was harassment in the first degree, but they did find him guilty of harassment in the second degree, which if you read that, it did make more sense to me because he and John Mello were talking by text. So it was communication, and that's how that second degree read. So I understand why they did that. RA is a bit ahead of me. Well, good for RA. I would have shown him, but I can't. So, his brother does look like it. Well, Yeah, except he has darker hair, but yeah. Yeah. Um, Here's my thoughts about this, guys. I mean, it's never a win when someone's found guilty, right? But it wasn't a win when Christina was red rummed either. Okay. If the jury would have found him not guilty, this could have set a precedent, a very dangerous one. Because then other copycatters could try to use the same argument. You have to have malice and murder. You know what I'm saying? And it could have been a very bad precedent that was set. No one should ever get away. There are things that you can do if you disagree, and maybe the daughter is essayed, right? There are things that you can do. John Mello should have done, not Zachary Hughes, right? So, I mean, I just really feel as though it would have set a really bad precedent. Yeah. Cheryl, you agree? Yeah. I was really scared, and before the verdict came in, I was going to say, and then I stopped myself, but I was going to say I was hoping it would be only 2 hours because they found him guilty, but I thought, no, I better not say that. But that is what I was feeling, because we know he did it by his own admission, right? I mean, we know he did it. So he deserves to be punished for what he did, for taking someone's life. That's just not something that's vigilante justice. We don't do that. We can't do that. And we can never condone that, because if we start condoning that kind of thing, we're going to have problems in our court system. That can never happen. So, I just really feel as though, the jury did what I would have done, right? And did you hear the person who called in that knew that local cigar place? Apparently, it is known for shady activities. Interesting. No, I didn't hear that, but I did hear quite a few things in RA today. But then Brenda Jo came home, and I went downstairs for a little while, so I missed some stuff. She brought us something to eat, so I missed it. But I've been watching him all day, and yeah, it's never a celebration when the verdict turns out the way you want it to, because somebody is losing their freedom. But in my opinion, when he was shaky and barely able to drive there, that was God telling him, stop, turn around and go back and don't do this. That's my opinion. God doesn't tell us to red rum. You had to go vote today. Gotcha. Yeah. I sure didn't miss the closing argument, so, and honestly, that defense saying that killing is not a crime, right then and there, I even typed it into RA's chat, guys. I said, oh, he just lost the jury right there. And I think, looking back on it now, I think he did. But somebody answered back and said, oh, I wouldn't be so sure, Granny. I'm like, really? Ugh. Now my thoughts is that Aida needs help, and I hope she gets it because she's lost her mom. Her dad is now in prison, and since Zachary's been found guilty, I would tend to think it's coming for him too. So, he's not going to be out of jail or prison anytime soon, right? So now all she has is possibly the aunt. I don't know. Um, I don't know what other relatives maybe John Mello has. I don't know, guys. Um, I'd be a little bit concerned about that aunt, who is Christina's sister, because in my opinion, she had to have known what Christina was doing. They had a 3-bedroom home, and at the time that this happened, Aida was 10. And instead of each of them having their own room, um, Christina changed it and made Aida's room into a playroom and had Aida sleeping with her. And you can't tell me that the sister didn't know this stuff, that she didn't know something was going on. Yes, the hesitation, the shaking, because I believe that he felt all that, guys. I do believe that. I believe he was telling the truth when he talked about what he did. I believe he was, right? Without a doubt in my mind. And so the shaking and the hesitation and not being able to hit her good, well, she had already seen him by that point. But still, he could have stopped at any time. The crime would have been a lot less, right? He took his career, which he was a classical pianist. And I don't know if any of you guys went to his YouTube channel last night after we talked about it, but he was good. And he threw it all away because he's got to know now that John Mello is not going to have his daughter. And he took away the mother. So that little girl doesn't have anybody, as far as we know, except the aunt. And that's scary to me. You know, and what does that little girl have to live with for the rest of her life? I mean, she's 13. And she was willing to testify on Zach's behalf. So what does that say about what she's been told, guys? It just really bothers me, right? Um, I don't know. I just have a really hard time with it because you have to wonder where this little girl's going to end up, right? What's going to happen to her? You know, if she thinks that this is okay, uh, I don't know. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts? And I think he needs help as well. If he prayed after he did this. I I don't know, guys. What are your thoughts? Tell me what you're thinking. Yes, all three of them are in the same jail. I don't know how big that jail is, but Mello, Post, and Hughes are all in the same jail. I'm sure they're not allowing them to be anywhere near each other, but they could easily pass by each other or something as they're being let out for whatever. Well, after, I don't know when they'll sentence Hughes, though. But yeah, Post is in jail for the essay charges. And Mello was just arrested yesterday during Zachary's testimony. So he'll have his trial set as well. And he had his arraignment last night. Gigi was there, and the sister showed up. So that was kind of interesting that all three of them are in the same jail. But yes, Gigi went down to the jail last night to watch him be arraigned. He was denied bond, of course. Yes, I am too. You know, we know that they found out about the essay, right? And they were not supposed to. And they weren't supposed to talk about it in deliberations, which I pray to God they did not do. It wasn't supposed to be a part of their deliberations or their decision. Because let's face it, there was enough. He admitted he did it, right? I mean, they had more than enough evidence to convict him even without that. But that was in their minds, right? But they followed the law and they made the decision to find him guilty for the crime that he committed, unlike what his defense attorney says. Boy, that guy needs to lose his license. How can he even... I mean, even what he said about malice isn't what the statute for South Carolina says. So that guy really twisted things around. Oh, they're going to sentence him. Wow. Usually that doesn't happen right away. It says on there, sentencing will begin shortly. It's interesting, guys. We're going to get to see him sentenced. Maybe they're doing that because they want to... That's one less of the three conspirators. Well, Bradley wasn't part of it, I guess. But yeah, they're not going to want to keep Hughes and Mello in the same jail for very long. 15 minutes. Yeah, they did say that, but I didn't realize it was going to be sentencing. Usually what they do is set a date for it, right? For sentencing. But it says here sentencing will begin shortly. Just all kinds of new stuff in this trial. I wonder what John Mello's trial is going to look like. That will be really interesting, right? Him, and then you have Bradley Post. I don't know if Bradley's trial will be televised. I mean, I don't know. John Mellows may not be either, right? We don't know. I still see news agencies talking about him placing the rose petals around her body and it being a ritualistic murder. And I'm like, have you guys not watched the trial? That is so irritating to me. It's really irritating to me. But I was going to tell you guys that, let's see here, At Night did post something. Take it down already? I'm trying to find it. It was here earlier. That is weird. Oh, okay. It was. I missed it on the day that this happened. I'll show this real quickly while we're waiting on the closing arguments or the sentencing. So on Tuesday, they did have the anti-SLAPP hearing. And it said today an anti-SLAPP hearing was held to seek an injunction against alleged acts of doxing, cyberstalking, and severe threats directed at Night, its clients, including Seth. Tony Mathis, Seth Rogers spokesperson, Dwayne Lee Chapman, Dog the Bounty Hunter, and several other victims of coordinated online attacks during the search for Sebastian. At approximately 12:30, it was reported that unauthorized multimedia transmission may have taken place within the courtroom. In Pennsylvania, it is illegal and a criminal offense to use or operate a device to capture, record, transmit, or broadcast photographs, videos, motion pictures, or audio of a proceeding or person within a judicial facility or in an area immediately adjacent to or surrounding a judicial facility without the court's approval or the presiding judicial officer's permission. Upon questioning by the court, all individuals present in the gallery denied any involvement in such transmission. Within 15 minutes, deputies from the Delaware County Sheriff's Department returned to the courtroom after apparently observing real-time social media posts about the proceedings. The court staff securely held the cell phones belonging to galley attendees and parties. The phones were returned at the conclusion of the hearing. Court officers implemented additional measures to safeguard the identities of individuals present in the courtroom due to the sensitive nature of the case and the persistent cyber-stalking behavior. This was achieved by maintaining separate logs to record the phone numbers and names of each party while ensuring privacy for their personal information. At present, we are gaining knowledge about purported audio or video recording being an apparent makeshift pool feed for creators, whether during a multi-person call or utilizing an application such as at Discord. Unauthorized individuals not only gained access to the proceedings, but also disseminated the events to the global community on various social platforms. We strongly urge YouTube channels like, I'm not going to name them, you guys can see them, and others who participated in panels or solo streams and aired illegally obtained photographs to take down the content from their platforms. This comes as our agency continues to face dire threats, including explicit death threats and ominous indications of a hit targeting search members like Dog the Bounty Hunter and his immediate team, sent directly to our tips line, which significantly escalates our concerns regarding safety and security. At Night has compelling reasons to believe that its representatives are at risk of physical and serious harm following an alarming escalation over the past 4 weeks. And it talks about physical intimidation, explicit threats, direct confrontations. Some of these pictures were seen. The pattern of danger not only endangers the personal safety of the individuals involved, but also disrupts the normal operations of At Night, creating an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty. At Night will not tolerate this reckless and repulsive conduct during proceedings. Okay. So, I mean, what they did in that courtroom was illegal, and they're asking to submit any media that you do see to Dog the Bounty Hunter. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. Very serious. I do know that there were people putting things out about that. I did see it. I do not understand why people would think that's okay. You cannot. I mean, we watch these proceedings. How many times have we seen? Oh, it looks like they're coming back. Make sure I have the sound on. Still no change of face. Same look on his face as always, right? I can't imagine being in his shoes.
Council approach, briefly.
You know, when you think about what he did, look at how it affected his family. You saw them sitting in the courtroom. You wonder if he's going to appeal the decision? Probably. They thought he might have an appeal since the judge didn't allow the essay in there.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please, court. We're prepared for sentencing. That's what we're here for today. You've heard a long 2-week trial. You've heard the actions of the defendant. You've seen the extreme violence in this particular case. Calculated the premeditation. The jury's found him guilty. Your Honor, the state will be requesting a life sentence for the murder and for the burglary first charges. But before you switch over to the defense, I have Tina Parcell here who would like to address the court. She's the sister of Christina Parcell.
Thank you, Ms. Parcell.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will apologize in advance. I didn't expect to actually reach this point today. This is my second victim statement in 24 hours. Yesterday was reliving the 2 worst days of my life between hearing the step-by-step account of my sister's murder, Mr. Mello's 2 new charges, his bond hearing, and my niece being put into emergency protective care again. So I am exhausted and I'm going to do my best to express myself appropriately. So with Your Honor's leniency, just give me a bit of grace. My understanding is this conversation is with you. This isn't with the defendant. This
Christina's
is not
sister,
this is not
guys.
the gallery. So this is a conversation with you. And I've had 3 years to try to articulate how this has impacted me, and I still have yet to find the words, and it won't happen tonight either. So I've decided instead to talk about what logically should be taken into consideration for any sentencing, which is remorse, rehabilitation, and recidivism. This defendant sat on that stand with full disregard for the authority of the law when it came to his actions outside of this courtroom, in blatant disregard for the authority of law inside this courtroom. He recounted step by step in excruciating detail everything he did. And if I may paraphrase the defense counsel's closing statement, did he cry? Did he shake? Did he look visibly distressed? He said the word repulsed, but did he once look repulsed? He said the word vomited. Did he ever once look nauseated as he described dragging my sister through my living room? Cold doesn't begin to describe the lack of emotion. And if I may be blunt, if we're going to argue somebody has to have malice and hate in their heart to be capable of murder, then one could also argue that anyone medically diagnosed as antisocial personality disorder is therefore not capable of committing murder. I think that is a logical fallacy, is asinine. And the fact that I'm tired, I will no longer go down that, but there has been no remorse once shown by this defendant in this courtroom. Without remorse, you cannot have rehabilitation. Rehabilitation requires acknowledgement that I have done a wrong, I have a debt to pay, and I can improve to become a better member of society. It begins with remorse. Without remorse, there is no rehabilitation. Without remorse, without rehabilitation, you have recidivism. This man, no, I'm sorry, this defendant wanted to kill someone. He joined the Marines, specifically the infantry. He wanted to kill someone. He was given a target on a silver platter He was given an address, a date, a time, and he planned it. Because he knew that if he planned it just enough, he would never get caught. He planned it so much that he thought, well, even when I got caught, I got this. I can still get out of this. Without remorse, without rehabilitation, any person that goes through that effort to commit a murder would absolutely do it again to see if they could. You're left with either two options. Either he is a weak, easily manipulated man who would kill anybody that anyone asked him to, or he's not a weak and easily manipulated man. And if that's the case, then he absolutely would do this again to see if he's smart enough this time, to see if he can beat it this time, because he has shown no respect for the law of this courtroom. The only thing that I will say about this situation overall is that all of these men did nothing but use my sister. John Mello used her to create a whole new family when he had a wife and children already. Brad Post used her. This defendant used her. All of them used her for their own twisted personal gratification. He would do it again. Without remorse, without rehabilitation, you will have recidivism. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else in the state? Okay. Defense.
Your Honor, may it please the court, Your Honor's presided over this trial. Your Honor is aware of the evidence that was presented at the trial. Your Honor is also aware of the evidence that was proffered. We do believe that could go to mitigations, and we would ask Your Honor to consider that very carefully. Zach has no prior criminal history, and he stands ready for sentencing. Your Honor, I would ask for Mr. David Hughes, Zach's father, to have the opportunity to address the court briefly.
Oh, his father's coming up now.
Just stand right there.
Thank you, Your Honor, for the opportunity to speak a few words on my son's behalf. The trial is over. A verdict's been rendered, and we accept that. What I want to speak to, because I understand this is the sentencing phase of the trial, where you have some parameter of your sentence. My son is probably, in my lifetime, and I've run into some pretty amazing people, and this is going to be seen as a bias from the father, but he has got such a strong moral compass and fortitude and desire for the truth in his life than really anyone I've ever met. He actually eclipses a lot of those things that I aspire to myself. It's what makes his music so incredibly meaningful, because as a musician, and there are some world-class musicians sitting here today, colleagues of Zach's, what makes a musician's art come through is what's the essence of who they are. It's not something you can fake. When you hear it, you know it's a fake. When you hear music that causes people in a room to weep, you know it's coming from something inside that person that you cannot describe. Zach was not born with a silver spoon in his mouth. I want to tell you that. I taught all my children, Zach being the oldest, the value of hard work. He might have been the only person at Juilliard to show up without manicured fingernails and calluses instead. He worked hard. I pushed him hard. Fathers and parents tend to do that with their firstborn child. Maybe I pushed him, a little hard at times, but it made him the man he is today. I want to address something, and Mr. Wilkins, that Zach is a cold-blooded killer. I am sorry. Zach wrote his mother and I a letter delivered to us through his attorneys approximately a month ago. In that letter, he described basically what he did in that chair over there, only in a little more detail. Why he did what he had to do, what he felt he had to do. You heard him say in that chair, he wasn't going to go on a cruise ship to Bora Bora, where he was headed, and look at himself in the mirror at night after playing beautiful classical music for rich people. He couldn't do that. Zach has been brutally honest in his life. So much, sometimes to the detriment of his own career. Everybody in the piano world wants to be a soloist with an orchestra. But it's a very small amount of room on the head of that pin, and that's where he was headed. But he had people in his life, donors, rich benefactors, who made demands of him artistically in exchange for their financial benefit, and he walked away from it to the detriment of his own career. Why do I bring that up? He has such a strong moral compass and a desire for the truth that sometimes he actually hurts himself. His friends here, all these people in this courtroom for the last 2 weeks have been here day in, day out, some as far as from Seattle, Washington. They're here because they grew up with Zach in the music world, and they saw something in him they didn't see in anybody else. He has got a loyal circle of friends that I never had. I told my kids when they grew up, if you, at the end of your life, you end up with 2 or 3 people in your hand that are really there for you, that's the guy I want in the foxhole with me. Consider yourself lucky. Zach's got a dozen of those. Why? Bettina, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm not supposed to mention her name. I'm sorry. But I want you to know, Zach had felt compelled to do what he did because of what he would quote Edmund Burke on this. The only thing necessary for evil to prosper is for good men to do nothing. Okay. His desire for the truth and his truthful telling of what happened. I mean, he sat there and he didn't hold anything back that would benefit his portrayal to this court. He's just as brutally honest with himself as he is with other people. He has no criminal record whatsoever before this event. The only thing I know of is an outstanding traffic ticket in Italy somehow he rang up when he was there with Mello. And several of the guards in the detention center, he's been for 3 years, he's been an exemplary inmate. have told him that they were going to come to this trial to support him. When you gain the silent respect of law enforcement officers, they see something in you, they see it all. And they see a guy that's respectful for 3 years without a single incident. I think that counts for something. So I'm just here, I'll wrap it up. As you determine your sentencing, I would ask you to consider what type of man he is. And take that into consideration. I love my son. I'm proud of my son.
Wow.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything else you say?
How can you say you're proud of your son when he committed red rum?
I don't,
How?
Your Honor, want to inquire, Zach, as to whether or not he wishes to speak.
That is up to you. I'm sorry, I thought that you didn't have anything.
He does not wish to speak. I just want to put that on record.
He doesn't want to speak. SRB, this trial was explosive. Oh my gosh. A bit. I think the whole family needs mental health therapy. And I don't mean to laugh about that because I'm serious. Even if it's your child, how can you condone red rum? I mean, of course, you're still going to love your child, right? Of course. But even as a mother, I would not be able to condone my child taking the life of somebody else. I just couldn't. Yes, you will. It's incredible, SRB. It's SRB. Just watch Zach's
Zachary David
testimony.
Hughes, indictment 2022 GS 2302194, indictment for murder. You're to be committed to the State Department of Corrections for life. Indictment 2022 GS 2302194. You're to be committed to the South Carolina Department of Corrections for 5 years. That is to run concurrent. Indictment 2024 GS 2305425A for burglary first degree to run concurrent is for you to be committed to the South Carolina Department of Corrections for life.
Yes, he could have, Cheryl.
The other two indictments, 2024 GS 2305413 for conspiracy to commit harassment second degree is 30 days time served. Indictment 2024 GS 2305412, harassment second degree, 30 days time served. Be dismissed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So he got life. That would mean he gets parole at some point. I'm pretty sure. Because they will usually say life without parole. But he got life. So that means he'll be eligible for parole at some point, which really scares me, guys, because He had no remorse. He believed that what he did was right, and he believed God felt it was right. He said that. He's seriously delusional, and I'm afraid that he will end up doing it again. What do you mean, Brenda? That has nothing to do with the case. The harassment? He harassed Christina by sending him and the baby daddy, John Mello, sent nude pictures of Christina to all the neighbors, the guardian ad litem for their child. He was harassing her, literally. One of the call-in from that town said that children's services in their town is a total failure, and many children have been harmed. Well, guys, from everything that I have been seeing lately, I mean, think about all the, look at, I mean, we can name case after case. You have Sebastian Rogers, where there was 5 CPS reports, and Seth didn't know anything about them. Somebody failed something somewhere. You have Summer Wells, right? Guys, tomorrow morning, go and watch my morning video. You're going to be shocked. Child Protective Services let down this family, these 3 children, big time. So I encourage you to go and watch that tomorrow. You'll be disgusted. How are these children being ignored? I know there once was a time back when my kids were very little where it was thought as a whole, kind of, society felt that CPS was taking children away at the drop of a hat. Now it seems to have gone the other opposite direction, right? Yes, SRB. He's a concert pianist, a very good one. In fact, he has a YouTube channel. Search for Zachary Hughes. And I agree with his dad. He has hurt his own career by some of the choices he made. And yeah, because he could have been better. He could have, instead of busking on the streets or doing solos for rich people or on cruises, he could have been playing in a symphony or an orchestra somewhere. He was that good. Yes, children are our most precious resources and deserve so much better. And that's the thing, and Ginger brought up a point about you heard Christina's sister speak. And guys, in my opinion, she has every right to be angry. But I did kind of share my thoughts on, whether she knew what Christina was doing or not, right? She said that these men were all exploiting her. That's all fine, well, and good, but Christina went along with it. And she had her daughter go along with it. So and did she know? That's the real question here, because she was fighting baby daddy John Mello for custody. Now John Mello has been charged with conspiracy to commit red rum in Christina's death. So he's never going to see the light of day because he's older than Zachary is. And is she going to automatically get custody now? I don't know. And to me, that's scary. That is very scary, guys. And the 3 children that I talk about tomorrow morning, they're with extended family. And I question that too. But again, I'll leave that for you guys to watch tomorrow, because what is happening? Why isn't family standing up and saying, enough? Where's your children? What are you doing with your child? Why is your child sleeping with you at 10 years old in the same bedroom when there's another room just specifically for her? Why didn't Christina's sister ask that question? She lived in the same home as them. And why aren't Zach's family asking, forget about the fact that he has such a moral bent. His moral bent is totally bent because it's off the charts. You cannot think that you're doing what you're doing is right when you're planning to take someone's life. And I'm sorry, the God that I know does not condone that. I don't care how much you pray. He does not condone that. If God was sending him any kind of answered prayer, it was when he was shaking, when he had a struggle trying to drive to get to her home. God was trying to tell him, stop, turn around and go back. Yes, poor Maddie Soto, same thing. Our children are not being protected, and that's the worst form of injustice, guys. And I still don't, just like I said back in the day, how it was known in society that CPS was taking children away at the drop of a hat. I still don't think that's right. There needs to be a balance between the two. An investigation needs to be done. All parties involved should be, if a father has joint custody, then he deserves everything. He deserves to know everything that's going on in that child's life. Oh, Brenda Joe, I see what you're saying. So what his father was saying had nothing to do with the case. Yes. Take a sip here. My throat's getting... Yes, I agree. He really didn't... He didn't help his son's cause. Right? I mean, any one of us could have gotten up there and, said, I love my son. That kind of thing. But as a mother, I would have never condoned my child. I didn't have a boy, but I would have never condoned my child taking another life. I couldn't. I taught my children that stealing was wrong, hitting. I mean, you know, taking a life, I don't care what she did. There's no excuse for taking someone's life. Yes. We fight to put abusive parents in prison. How hard are we fighting for the children who have been abused? It's a good point. And here's the thing. We need to be fighting before those abusive parents are put in prison. The minute we see abuse for a child, in Sebastian's case, how many times did he tell his teachers what was going on? They called CPS, and they did the right thing. But why didn't CPS let Seth know what was going on? Right? That's wrong. He has joint custody. He had every right to know what was going on in that house, or every right to know what was going on with his son. And I'm sorry, if the son tells a teacher something, that's something that's going on with his son. He has a right to know that. It's just, this whole case has been very explosive, right? I mean, and I don't think I will ever forget Zachary's demeanor on that stand. Guys, it was riveting. He told every detail of what he did to Christina, and he held nothing back. But her sister was right. There's no remorse. None. He talked about wanting to throw up, but did he look nauseous? Did he look repulsed? She's right. He didn't. He didn't look ashamed of himself. He was still sitting there saying that what he did was right. To me, that's somebody who needs some help. Yeah. See what I said, SRB? It's in case you kind of want to follow up on. Like I said, really all you have to do is, was it yesterday, guys, where we showed Zach's testimony? You watch Zach's testimony, you'll know everything you need to know about this trial and why he was found guilty. Because everything leading up to that, I mean, and I kind of told you the background, how they figure the mother's fiance, I'll just give you this, is currently in jail. He's been charged with SA exploitation. And she was involved in it too. There's pictures of them and her little girl. She was 10 years old at the time, guys. So that is why Zach is saying he did what he did. But he's no relation to her. Just a good friend of her father. So, yes, the case is crazy. Yeah. I don't blame you. I'm almost glad it was over. I was worried there for a little while during Zach's testimony that we were going to have a mistrial, and I'm glad that didn't happen in this case. That would have been horrific. I would not have wanted to see this case again. I I don't know why. I mean, it's not like we saw a lot of gory stuff, but I think it's just that it outrages me that he thinks that what he did was okay, you know. And then his defense saying that killing is not a crime. Killing in and of itself is not a crime. Those were his exact words, his defense attorney today in his closing statement. So Yeah. Crazy case, right, guys? Crazy case. I don't know. But this case is pretty much done. The sentencing is all done. That kind of went a lot quicker than I expected, but I'm glad. I think we should keep in prayer Aida Mello. I think the little girl, she's 13 now. I think she's got a long road ahead of her, therapy wise. Yeah, the defense said that. So I think that little girl, I don't, you know, it, you have to wonder, I mean, did Zach and John brainwash her? Because she was willing to testify for Zach. And I realized she was abused, right? So she sees Zach as a hero for helping her. But he took her mother. And yeah, I mean, it's horrific. It's horrific. But she really needs our prayers because she is the true victim in this entire case. That little girl, not the sister, not Zach's family. Aida Mello is the true victim in this case, and she needs our prayers. Just like Sebastian needs our prayers, right? The focus has to be on them. It has to be on them. But yeah, have fun, SRB. I'm ready to put this one to rest, honestly. Tomorrow we'll probably just talk some more about Sebastian. And I'll be taking a look at other cases that and you guys, if there is any cases that you're interested in, let me know. I want to, yes, Bradley Post needs to stay in jail for life too. And I kind of hope that case is televised because I think that'll give us a lot of answers about Zach's reasoning, right? I think it's all going to come out in that one. That one, I have a feeling that John Mello's case is going to be a lot like this one, except without all the drama. But Bradley's, that might be a pretty good case to watch. But seriously, guys, if there's any cases out there that you're interested in, let me know, right? Today's grannyism is justice is never advanced in the taking of a human life. Morality is never upheld by a legalized red rum. So it should be justice is never advanced, right? And it's not, right? If the jury would have went the other way, justice would not have been advanced in this case, but it was today, right? Morality, which is what Zach likes to say, he's got a strong moral compass, is never upheld by a legalized red rum. And Coretta Scott King said that, Martin Luther King's wife. So I thought that was so fitting. I saw that today and I thought, wow, that's so true, right? Very true. And I'm glad that the that the verdict came out the way that it did. It could have went the other way, and I can't imagine. I think I would have had trouble sleeping tonight if it had gone the other way or had been a mistrial. So I was scared to hope. I really was. When the first question that the jury came back with was, does malice have to be a factor in red rum? And I thought, oh no, they're thinking about what the defense said. And the people that were in the courtroom said the defense got really excited about that question. And that scared me. That scared me, guys. But I'm glad that it's over. Amen. Amen. All right. Well, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you and your input. Be sure to hit the like button on your way out. If you haven't subscribed, hit that button as well. Set your notifications so you get notified whenever we're live. Be sure and watch the one tomorrow morning. I promise you guys, it's an important case. I think that's going to be coming up. I don't know when it'll go to trial because it just happened. So, it's something I think I'm going to want to follow at that time. But thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate each and every one of you so much. You have a wonderful evening. Thank you for watching another episode of Granny's Crime Busters. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to subscribe and like and even share the content. You can follow us on any of our other social media platforms at YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We really appreciate you guys, and you can also email us at granniescrimebusters@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.